we confuse sleep hygiene as some cure or treatment for something. Every magazine says, best sleep of your life. Here are 10 tips and tricks. Okay, did you really think the loud, bright, hot bedroom was the thing you should be doing? No, these things are all little equalizers. Important, but generally just enhancing or making something a little bit more. It's not going to solve a lot of people's problems. And that's unfortunate because as you keep trying these sleep hygiene things and they ultimately fail, it's creating more anxiety, more, "Oh my god, what is wrong with me? I've tried every tip and trick in the book and nothing works, and every tonic and every supplement and every pill, and they all fail." Right? Because 'cause you're not asking the right questions, you're not going after the right problems.
Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We're your hosts, Susan Robbins, certified epigenetic human performance coach,
and Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author. Together, we bring two perspectives, two styles, and one shared passion for epigenetics.
On this podcast, we delve into topics such as environment, nutrition, fitness, mindset, social dynamics, and trauma as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone.
We recognize that everyone's needs are unique. There are no one-size-fits-all solutions for your mind, body, and heart. The true magic lies within you.
So if you're ready to create a radiant life through epigenetics and reclaim your authentic self, then buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We are your co-hosts. I am Susan Robbins here with the lovely
Kate King. And today we are interviewing another sleep specialist for you today. It's going to be a little bit different than our other sleep interview, and you will see in certain ways how it's similar and how it's different. And I'll turn this over to Susan to introduce our special guest for today.
Yeah, I came across his podcast and his work. His name is Dr. Christopher Winter. And I was just blown away here and reached out to him and asked if he would come on and talk to us. He's practiced sleep medicine and he's a neurologist in Charlottesville, Virginia. He's been practicing sleep medicine and neurology since 2004, but has been involved with sleep medicine and sleep research since 1993. You don't look old enough. Doctor,
When you start when you're 12, it's really easy.
that's the secret.
It's like mowing lawns and sleep research.
So, let's see. He completed his sleep fellowship at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He's the author of the book, The Sleep Solution, Why Your Sleep is Broken and How to Fix It, as well as The Rested Child, Why Your Tired, Wired, and Irritable Child May Have a Sleep Disorder and How to Help. Dr. Winter works with numerous professional sports organizations to help athletes optimize sleep, and his clients include both the reigning World Series champion LA Dodgers, as well as the reigning NBA champions, Oklahoma City Thunder. He's the host of the podcast Sleep Unplugged with Dr. Chris Winter. And let me tell you, you need to tune in. Tune in. Tune in. It starts off with wake up. This is Dr. Winter. I love it. And then there's music. There's either a song and a group, and you talk about music in the beginning, and I resonated with that right away, and it just gets you caught into listening to the rest of the episode, and it's fantastic. And it's consistently ranked as one of the most popular medical podcasts in the country. He's also the host of the Sleep.com series, and I love the name of this one, Sleeping Around with Dr. Chris Winter. and I'll tell you, Dr. Winter, I'm a retired police officer. So
super.
Former first responder. And I watched the one yesterday, actually, where you stayed the night with the firefighters. Now, you didn't
much
take
fun.
props, you had no fire to the good guys, but
It was really interesting. Like I'm in the medical field. I had no idea how much medical response falls on fire departments and police departments. So we went to the 24 hours I was with them. We responded to one fire that was not a fire. There were 2 heroin overdoses or some sort of, and 2 strokes. So that was really interesting as a neurologist. I think they have a thalamic stroke happening. So
yeah.
why are we bringing this massive ladder truck to this apartment complex for somebody who's unconscious. It was really interesting. Like, we were, driving, we would get there before the ambulances got there.
Oh, yeah.
Really was
Yeah.
my idea of everything I know about first responders comes from television shows and movies like The Departed, The Crooked Cop, and like and they gotta get deep into the so it was really an eye-opening kind of thing, and it was just lovely spending time with them too. Just it was funny, like, when we would leave, obviously, you'd get to slide down the pole, and then we would come back, we would take this elevator up one flight of stairs. I'm like, "Why are we taking the elevator up one flight?" Because it helps us get ready to sleep. We don't have to exert it's quiet, and I just thought I don't know, I thought that what they did was really amazing. I'm in awe of first responders.
Yeah. I thought it was just a neat thing to look at having come from that, and
Yeah,
thank you
yeah, no,
for
it was a real honor to
sharing
be
that.
able to spend some time with them. And we played this
So
crazy game, I gotta say this real quick. We had dinner, and then it's time to do the dishes, and they have this very elaborate game they play where you're throwing little dice, and whoever can get closest to the hole where the pole goes down without going in the hole where the pole goes down is free from doing dishes. And I won it. I got the closest. I mean, it was so blind luck, and they were all irritated that I didn't get to I said the next time I'm in Fort Worth, I'm doing the dishes regardless of who wins the dice roll.
That's
And
great.
just a little
oh,
word of
ready to
warning, do
scrub.
not call the Fort Worth Fire Department the Dallas Fort Worth Fire Department. That is a massive sin, and I could not stop doing it. I'm like, "Hey, Dallas Fort Worth," and they go, "Cut, cut, you gotta say just Fort Worth." We hate that. That is the airport, not us. Anyway.
Good to
Everybody
know.
has their particulars.
Yeah.
And it was funny because when we were talking here and as I was listening to different your podcasts and things on YouTube over the years, I was like, I will jot down topics that resonate that I think our audience would really like to hear about and could learn from. There were so many that were like, I think maybe a good one, and you correct me, but one of the things that struck me was how you've said insomnia is a symptom rather than a condition. I've had sleep issues, Kate, clients, I and it ties in with another podcast that you did on why general medical checkups, the first thing you do when you go in, they check your temperature. Okay, stick the thermometer in, check your blood pressure, all that. And but no one is asking about sleep, and you timed it. Literally 27-second conversation on how is your sleep and what can we do if your sleep is not optimal. And you said, "Why is this not happening?" And that ties into the insomnia issue that people are having terrible quality of sleep, getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, waking up at 3 a.m., can't get back to sleep, and then they're like zombies and not fully present the rest of the day. And we know this is dialing up genetics that we don't want to turn up, and it's turning down some potentially really good genetics. This is epigenetics at play in the environment. So, if you want to start on speaking to some of that, like why does nobody ask about this, and what is the importance in this insomnia being a symptom?
Yeah, I think so. When it comes to insomnia being a symptom, what I mean by that is insomnia is general. If you ask 100 people, what is insomnia? This is when a person can't sleep, which is a terrible definition of insomnia because can't sleep doesn't really exist. It's my least favorite two-word pairing in the English language. So when we think about insomnia, it's really a subjective type of thing, meaning that if it takes somebody 15 minutes to fall asleep and that upsets them, or they wake up 3 times during the night to pee and that upsets them, by the truest definition of insomnia, that's insomnia. You've got something going on with your sleep that you don't like. And it's upsetting to you, meaning that if I meet somebody at a dinner party and say, "Hey, I'm a sleep doctor. What do you want to talk about?" And they're like, "It takes me 2 hours to fall asleep every night, Chris." And I say, "How do you feel about it?" They're like, "I don't care. I love it. It's fine. In fact, I like being in bed awake." You don't really have insomnia. You've got to care. And that's the fuel for insomnia. It's the I'm awake and I want to be in asleep because if I don't fall asleep in the next 5 minutes, genes are getting turned on and turned off that I want to get turned on, and I'm gonna die, I'm gonna have dementia, I'm gonna have a heart attack by the end of the week, and I got a lot of plans for this weekend. So it's that kind of
That's
monkey
so
brain.
familiar. That's
Yeah,
so
yeah, of
I'm
course.
just sitting here going, "Oh
You're
my
a
god."
skier, you're a skier. If
Yeah,
I don't
the
get
thing
sleep,
is
I'm gonna ski poorly, or I'm a
right.
police officer, I'm gonna make the wrong call when at that split second, I'm gonna make a bad it takes that. Now if you're
Yes.
kinda like, "I don't care," then it never works. It's like
Well,
s
the anxiety of it is what
Yes,
creates all the suffering because then
correct.
what could just begin as a busy mind processing your day has this ripple effect into a full on anxious or panic response. That then it's no longer the sleep that's the issue, but now it's the anxiety. And I think
Correct.
so many conversations about sleep and insomnia are terrifying for people who have sleep issues. Like, I don't really want to listen to a lot of sleep interviews because all they're going to do is tell me how bad it is for you when you don't get sleep. And I'm like, I'm trying. I'm doing everything I can. And listening to this is just planting all this fear. And so it's really when I get into those moments of, okay, I'm lying here awake. This is reality. I'm not going to fight reality. I'm just going to be present, or I'm going to do some
Yeah.
tapping, or I'm going to do some deep breathing. And the surrender is really what helps. But like once you pivot into that anxious mode, nothing good happens from there. So I think that's a huge aspect.
Right, and that's where when you start really looking at patients who have insomnia, that they're actually sleeping more than people who are normal sleepers. So,
Mm.
there's lots of things going on. There's perceptions. So, the when somebody comes to my clinic and says, "I'm lucky if I get an hour's sleep every night, and it's been that way for 6 years," that's not physiologically possible. But it is certainly possible to feel that way. When I was a kid on Christmas Eve, I never thought I slept the night before Santa came. I was like, I was up all night. I'm sure I was up all night. Like, I just, oh my God. Like, of course, why wouldn't you be? Go to sleep or Santa doesn't come to your house. Do you know what I mean? He knows if you're asleep, and if he knows you're asleep awake in your bed, he just goes right over your bed and goes to your next door neighbors and gives him all your toys you were supposed to get. What a terrible pressure for an 8-year-old to be under trying to fall asleep tonight, you know what I mean? So there were very many nights on Christmas Eve I didn't feel like I slept at all, but my parents would probably tell you, "Oh, you slept like crazy. I don't know what you're talking about." So that anxiety does more than make it difficult to initiate sleep. It can make us misperceive our sleep. Can make us feel like I have patients who tell me all the time, "I was up for 7 hours last night." 7 hours. That's a drive from Charlottesville, Virginia to New York City. Do you really feel like you were awake the entire time it would take you to drive from Charlottesville, Virginia to New York? Does that make sense to you? So it's a really fascinating thing when you start to get into it. People ask, "What's the secret to good sleep?" It's being equally happy, awake or asleep, knowing that even if you wanted to not sleep, that's not really in your control. Now, you can work 2 jobs, work a day job and drive an Uber at night and deprive yourself of sleep. Ask that person how they feels. They're falling asleep at stoplights. So when somebody says to me, "I'm in bed, it's dark, it's quiet, it's cool, my bed's comfortable, and I'm not falling asleep," then great, you're not falling asleep. And guess what? Yesterday, when lunch came around, I wasn't hungry. I didn't eat it. Doctors I called because of that situation, 0. We have faith in our eating. Have you eaten every breakfast, lunch, and dinner since the time you were born until now? No, of course not. I had a big lunch today because somebody was celebrating their birthday. I'm not really that hungry for dinner. I'm not going to have any. I'll just have a little bit of a salad. So we give ourselves grace when it comes to eating. How many people forget to eat and starve? Oh, I had a friend. He just forgot to eat one day and starved to death. Nobody does that when food is present. So insomnia is like this magical thinking of you've lost your ability to sleep but you're not sleepy. How do you reckon if somebody's lost their ability to put water in their mouth, they're going to get incredibly motivated to drink water, not less motivated to drink water. That doesn't make any
This
scientific.
is a refreshing perspective, honestly, Dr.
So,
Winter. It's like it's very normalizing of just the human condition that we run on
yes.
cycles and there are seasons, and maybe certain seasons you need more rest and sleep is easier. And maybe there's anxious seasons and it feels harder. But it sounds like what you're saying is basically the stress is the problem.
Yeah, and that's why I thank Matt Walker every time I see him for writing his book, which is very different than my book, which is I think Matt's book is really good for the trauma surgeon who says, "Look, Chris, as long as I get 3 or 4 hours of sleep every night, I'm fine." And she's doing triathlons, and she's a trauma surgeon, and she's working all these different foundations and sleeps from midnight to 4 AM every day. I'm gonna have a conversation with her that is you need more sleep. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should, and you should read Matt Walker's book. If you're struggling to sleep, that's the last book you should read because it's all about what you're saying. You better get 8 hours or you die. It's a terrible conversation. This is not a helpful conversation for a lot of people who are struggling with their sleep. It should be, like you said, normalizing. It takes people a while to fall asleep sometimes. People wake up
Oh,
during the
yeah.
night, and every hour we awaken about 8 times on average. It's fine to wake up and go to the bathroom. Every NBA player I work with pees 3 times during the night. It's fine. But if we pathologize these things, if you get in bed and you're not asleep in 5 minutes, you're going to turn on genes, have dementia, and die when you're 52. This is a non-starter. This is bordering on absurd here. This is taking away this idea that if you don't remember to blink, you'll blink. If you forget to breathe, you'll probably breathe and eat and drink, and these are fundamental to life. So we need to set aside proper time to do it and be disciplined about schedules and our exercise and the way we eat. And once you've controlled those things, you're done. You've controlled the variables you have dominion over. Let it go. Tonight, I'm going to get in bed. You two will get in bed and we'll fall asleep, or we won't. But
Mhm.
and it's okay, and that's this I always tell people the secret to great sleep is being equally happy in bed awake and versus asleep. If that's you, "Oh, okay, I'm in bed, but I'm awake, but, it's so nice. I'll think about a TV show
Meditate.
that would be I'd like to write or a celebrity crush that I like to go on a date with, or what's my next travel with my family or a book that I want," whatever you want it to be, anything you want it to be. Like, if you're happy in bed awake, insomnia really has no control over you. No,
Yeah,
there's gotta be that fear and anxiety element that you're talking about.
Sure.
when I got into doing the DNA testing and the COMT genes came up, and I'm a COMTAA, and that is a very slow breakdown of the catecholamines. So I can have, and I generally do have higher levels of the neurotransmitters. I feel it. I'm wired a lot of the time, and found that that can be impactful in sleep, where we tend to do or be more prone to shorter amounts of sleep. So I stopped buying into that you have to have 8 hours, because I legit am good at, if I get a good quality of 7 hours of sleep, I've even 6.5, and I track everything, and I'll have really good quality in that shorter amount. I'm more prone to that shorter sleep duration, more micro awakenings through the night. I'll look and say, "Oh, it was only 20 times I was restless last night that I didn't even recognize." But the overall sleep quality and recovery and feeling good about it, a huge difference from when I was having the sleep issues due to this back pain, where I was constantly tired, just debilitating fatigue, because I would wake up after about 2 to 3 hours of sleep and then be up for another 3 to 4 before I could get if I could get back to sleep again, and that was just a horrible cycle. But I think that the genetics can play a part, but we can't fight them. For me to say I need 8 hours of sleep, I don't. I know where my sweet spot is, and that's a contributing factor. But a
Yeah.
lot of people don't, and some people need more, and that's
8
where they
hours was
are.
built on very flawed research that just for some reason sticks around because 8 hours, it's an easy number, it just seems right, but 7 hours is really where the inflection of the curve, we call it a J curve, meaning that when you get a lot more than 7 hours of sleep, fewer than 7 hours of sleep, you have more health issues. But 7 is that sweet spot for most adults. So think about a bell curve distribution. Okay, 7 is in the middle. Are there people who require 8? Sure. Are there people who do well with 6.5? Absolutely. So it's really a great place to start for the average person. But for you, specific patient who I'm talking to at 2:30 today in my clinic, all bets are really off. And so if somebody says to me, and this is where you start getting into, here's another cause of insomnia. You're seeking 8 hours of sleep. Your body is designed to get 6.5. You're buying an extra large pizza every night for dinner. You can basically eat 2 pieces before you get full because you're a 5 foot, 95 pound ballet dancer, but you're dating a middle linebacker and he eats a whole pizza. So he's really healthy. I think I'll eat a whole pizza too. You can try, but I don't think you're going to be successful. And when you only eat half the pizza and you feel full, there's no medical problem here with your appetite. It was an expectation problem all along. So if you want to try to get 8 hours of sleep, try to get 8 hours. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're like, Chris, it always takes me an hour to fall asleep, or I wake up at 3 and it takes me an hour to get back to sleep. That's your brain saying, I don't want 8 hours of sleep. So we have to be very careful when we start saying things like, if you don't get 8 hours of sleep, you get dementia. What is that? What they're saying is get the amount that you need. For the average person, it's probably 7. So if you're an average person, get your 7 hours. If you're like, Chris, I need 7.5 to feel my best, then get that. That's fine. Now, as you start, if you're saying, look, I need 13, now we start getting into this idea that there might be a quality issue to your sleep and you're compensating with more quantity. But again, you have to be very careful. There's people who are like, I get 3 and I feel fine. Really? Because when I talk to your partner, they're like, every time you sit down to watch a movie, you fall asleep. So that's not fine. That's as long as I'm busy, I can stay awake. You shouldn't have to be busy to stay awake. 7 is a great place to start, but you're right. It's an average, and we have to, and our averages personally are going to change throughout our life. Look at a baby. Look at a teenager, look at an elderly person. We're always losing sleep. So I always tell people, if suddenly you need more sleep than you did 5 years ago, that's a red flag. It should always be slowly diminishing, which is unfortunate because as I get older, I have more time for sleep, yet less demand for it. I needed it back in my 20s.
It's such a cruel, yeah,
It's a
cruel
cruel
twist.
twist. Oh, now I've got all
Yeah.
the time in the world to sleep. My body's, I don't really want it anymore.
Oh,
I'm
well,
over
and
it.
isn't it interesting too is so you talk about this perception of how we perceive we're sleeping, and I know I've had experiences where I sleep great. I don't wake up in the middle of the night, but the next day I'm pretty tired and I'm dragging. And then other days, it feels like I don't sleep a lot and I'm up a lot and I'm frustrated, but then I have a fantastic day
Yeah.
and I don't even feel a lag at all. And so I think what you're really talking about is trusting the body and trusting that on some level beyond the grasp of the ego mind and the consciousness that wants to control everything all the time and meet all these arbitrary standards of society, the body actually knows what it's doing. And if you set it up with optimal conditions, don't drink an espresso an hour before bed. Or for me, I don't take in any caffeine after noon. And I do that to protect my sleep. Susan's helping me with the DNA stuff. Like, I'm not taking in a bunch of starch and sugar anymore. And that's great. So you're right. I think that there's this limit to what we can control. And then beyond that, it's like, we have to at some point trust our bodies. And this leads me to a question in the subtitle of your book. You use the word broken sleep. If your sleep is broken, this is how to fix it. Can you talk about what you mean by that so that people know what does it mean when your sleep is broken and how fixable is insomnia? I know it's different for different cases, but just in general, can you explain that a little?
Yeah. And just to build on what you just said, there was a wonderful book that I've read at several points in my life called The House of God by Samuel Shem. It was the book that the TV show Saint Elsewhere was based upon, and I always thought it was interesting. It was like in this look behind a hospital, and they had the unofficial rules of so the hospital where this is all happening was they would call it the House of God. It was based upon a hospital in Massachusetts, Boston, and they had the rules of the House of God. And in one of my books, I wrote the rules of the House of Nod, or the House of Sleep. And one of the rules is perception of sleep and reality are two different things.
Yeah.
And it can work in both directions. I feel, and you really captured that really impressively in the sense that you can have a night where you woke up a bunch of times and feel kind of like your sleep was crappy, but you feel great the next day, or vice versa. I think that's really important, which leads to the answer to your question: what is broken sleep? Broken sleep is interesting. It's whatever you want it to be, which is why I don't really like formal and academic definitions of insomnia. If you've been doing this for 3 months and this and this and this, like, no, I mean, to me, if you're like, my sleep is terrible. I have horrific sleep. My first question for people is what does that mean to you? In terms of, because my experience is if this is horrific sleep way over here and this is awesome sleep, most people are a lot closer to awesome than they think they are. And what's really interesting with our culture is the horrific sleepers are actually people who think they're awesome sleepers. I'm a guy, I'm a great sleeper because I can sleep anytime, anywhere. Partners will say, I wish I could be more like my partner. He gets in bed, he's asleep in 30 seconds. Okay, so you're basing good sleep on speed to unconsciousness because he's in bed and he's asleep in 30 seconds. it might take you 45 minutes to fall asleep. So you're the horrific sleeper, just to be clear, and he's the one that you want to emulate. In my view, it's the opposite. I'm way more concerned about Harold, who's asleep in 30 seconds and can't make it through a church service and always asleep by the second inning of his son's travel for baseball game. Like, why? Why are you
Why?
so driven to sleep? It's kinda like seeing somebody eating food out of a trash can and thinking, "Ah, great eater. Such a good eater." No, starving and will eat anything because his drive to eat has gotten to the point where he doesn't care what he's putting in his body.
Yeah.
So, we have a very skewed way of thinking about sleep just culturally. Gotta get in bed, gotta fall asleep fast, can't wake up, and that's good sleep. No, good sleep is exactly what you said. It's, "I didn't sleep so well last night, but it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I feel really good."
Okay.
It's, "How do you feel at 2 o'clock in the afternoon watching my slides and looking at pictures of my vacation in Copenhagen?" Oh god. He's bringing out the Copenhagen slides. Jesus, the lights are down. We're sitting here, and he's telling me about how great the public transportation is. You're wide awake, then you're probably sleeping pretty well. Asleep before I get to the whole Little Mermaid statue, yeah, there's something going on there. You're either not getting enough sleep or there's something wrong with the quality of it. So to me, broken sleep really begins with how do you feel about your sleep? And is your definition of good or bad solid? Oh, I just wish I could be like him and fall asleep so fast. Let's maybe come up with a better definition of what good or bad sleep is, and then see how your own sleep personally sets against that test. So it really starts with good education. What's a good eater? I eat anything I can get my hands on. I only eat things that are green. That's weird. Like, okay,
Yeah.
some good things are brown and red. So to me, it's like evaluating that and diving in from there.
Mhm. So if you're perceiving that it's a problem, you're not refreshed, you're falling asleep anywhere, everywhere, you just can't keep your eyes open and you perceive that there is a problem there. What would be the first step that you would suggest taking? Speak to your doctor because you go to the doctor and it's likely going to be for some stress related condition, right?
Yeah, it's
75%, which is likely creating part of what's creating your sleep issue to begin with that you're perceiving. And we know, like you said, that they're going to take your temperature, but the doctor's not going to come in right away and say, "How's your sleep? Just
yeah.
what's happening? Run some tests." Instead of doing that deeper dive,
Mhm.
would you suggest going to the doctor and you even as the patient being your best advocate, hearing about this and saying, "I need to talk to you because my sleep, I'm perceiving like that my sleep is not quality and it's affecting my quality of life.
Yeah.
And that's a problem."
So I think you start with your primary care doctor. I've got a wonderful relationship with mine, and I trust him to be able to solve certain things himself because he's very smart. I also trust him to know his own limitations. And when it comes to sleep in general medicine, pediatricians, primary care doctors, internal medicine, they probably have not had a lot of training. The average pediatrician has gotten an hour or two of sleep training in their entire career, 25% have none. Yet when you look at the top 7 complaints that you would go to a doctor about, pain, fatigue, insomnia, there's 7 of the top 7, 2 are sleep related. And those are the people we see. "Chris, I can't sleep. Chris, I can't stay awake. I'm nodding off driving my car." So to me, you start with your primary care doctor. They may have all kinds of ideas about it. If they are not taking it seriously, which I think a lot of people find that they're brushed off. You know, and it also it becomes this sort of we're all tired. Yeah, you got a you're a full-time mother and you got a job and you've got 2 kids. Like, women definitely get more of the brunt of that from Western medicine than men, which is, "I'm just really tired. I'm really struggling. You just need to do some breathing exercises and get a little bit more sleep," and they don't know what they're doing. It's like me trying to deliver a baby. I've done it, but goddamn, you don't want me doing it for you. Like, "You are a doctor, right?" "Yeah, but that's not my wheelhouse," right? Everything I know more about delivering babies from what I see on TV than I do what I remember from my OB rotation many years ago. To me, I think that you should have a very low threshold for either saying to your doctor, I'm really struggling with my sleep. Could I see a sleep specialist?" A good doctor will say, absolutely. If your doctor is resisting your want for a referral to see a sleep doctor, I'd get a new primary care doctor. So
So what do you
they
do?
don't have to have the answer, but they should send you to somebody who's more likely to have that answer.
What do you do if you have a PCP who's, "Oh, you're having sleep issues? Here's some Lunesta, here's some
So
drugs."
that's the
And so I
so
feel
the
like,
drug
can you speak to
supplement.
that?
Yeah, of
Are
course.
these drugs and supplements helpful in certain places? Is there a rule of thumb that you like to use in terms of referring someone to a prescription or to a magnesium? Or I think that so many of our listeners are probably taking something for their
Melatonin.
I'm so curious if you could speak to those.
Yeah. So start with supplements. Supplements are exactly what they are. They're supplements. Who's the best person for a supplement? Hey, Chris, I'm a great sleeper. I've been doing some triathlons recently. I'd like to take my sleep from 94% awesome to 96% awesome. Great. Magnesium, brains love magnesium, a little bit of GABA. I take a supplement every night. Is it solving a problem for me? No. Is it maybe making my sleep a little bit? You mentioned like you don't have coffee after lunch. I generally don't either, but I love it. Not because I lean on it. I just love the ritual of it. I'll sip the same cup of coffee for hours. It drives my family crazy. Like, why is this cold coffee everywhere? Oh, don't touch it. I'm drinking it. Chris, you've been drinking it forever. So to me, like it's like that. I don't drink caffeine, but if I do at night, I would tell you it doesn't change anything for me personally. My wife would tell you something very different. No, Chris, it does. Like you're more restless, you move around, you tend to groan and make weird noises a little bit more when you have caffeine. I don't see a difference the next day, but I bet if you measured it over a period of time, you would say, Chris, it's actually making you 7% less effective, more tired, more fatigued. It's something it's measurable, but it's not immediately seen. So the number of people who are going to solve a sleep problem with a supplement or a medication is very low. Now, for somebody who's, look, I just want to be a little bit better. It's like British cycling. We want to make our bikes 1% lighter, our athletes 1% stronger, our nutrition 1% better. And if we do that 100 times, we've made our athletes 100 times better at cycling. This is amazing. So to me, that's where I see supplements. And when you start looking at sleeping pills, like prescription FDA approved sleeping pills, don't take my word for it. Look at the research. Like the sleeping pill you're taking most likely is not FDA approved to treat anything related to sleep. Most commonly used sleep aid in this country is trazodone. It's an antidepressant that makes people feel sleepy. Now we're back to speed of unconsciousness is the goal, right? Oh, it takes me a long time to fall asleep. Or you went to your primary care doctor and said, I don't sleep. It's been 6 years since I've gotten any more than 1 hour sleep a night, and I'm debilitated the next day. Of course, they're gonna be like, "Okay, we need to knock you out and get you sleep." So, look at the drug that you're taking. You can ask the person providing it, "What research do you have that this is actually making me sleep better and maybe more importantly, perform better the next day?" I'm a police officer, can't make a mistake. So I get in bed, can't fall asleep right away. I'm putting lives at risk, including my own. So I have to take a sleeping pill, Chris. I have to have a few beers before I go to bed at night, Chris, because I need to perform my best. So you're saying the couple beers you take or the Ambien you take is making you perform better? No, no. In fact, while you're looking for that research that does not exist, I'll find you 10 papers that say it's actually making you worse. It's
Mhm.
making you more likely to make a mistake, more likely to have a performance decline. But this is the nature of where we are with sleep. It's like you said, it's drug you. So again, don't take my word for it. Look up that drug that you're taking. Hey, Chris, this doesn't apply to me because I take an FDA approved drug for sleep and hypnotic. Okay. Look up that research. This is what you're going to see. Makes you fall asleep maybe 2 minutes faster than placebo. In fact, a lot of them don't. They don't change the speed with which you fall asleep. They give you maybe 7 more minutes of sleep per night. Now, again, back to the supplement. You're coming to me saying, Chris, I would love to get 7 more minutes of sleep per night. Got anything for me? Yeah, I do. But nobody in the 20 years that I've been practicing has ever come to me for that. It's, I'm a mess. I can't sleep. I need a pill. Or I'm taking these pills. And when I suggest maybe they don't work, I've tried, Chris. I tried to come off of them, but I can't. That's a psychological construction. That is, I sleep with a teddy bear and I can't sleep without it. Of course you can. No, no,
Yeah.
I tried. I tried. My
There's a
mom took the sleep.
perception.
My mom took the teddy bear from me. My partner took my teddy bear and hid it, and I couldn't sleep that night because there's a belief there. Now we're back to the psychological.
Well, we're
So
Yeah.
to me,
habit-forming
this is
creatures.
what's happening with these drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, we're habit forming creatures. I think there's a comfort that when
Yes,
we find something that
absolutely.
works, people tend to grasp onto it. But what's really interesting with those prescription drugs is people overlook the subtext that there's some crazy things that happen when people are on Ambien. Sometimes they get in a car. Sometimes they wake up with food in their bed and they're like, how did this get here? So these are things that are possibly very dangerous, probably very uncomfortable and contributing to an unhealthy lifestyle in an unconscious aspect. And yet, it's more comfortable to take the medication and go along with those potential side effects than to actually find the root cause or deal with letting go of that teddy bear or saying goodbye to the beers and the addiction that might be holding you hostage. I just find it so
Yeah.
interesting that that fine print is so easy to gloss over for.
Well, you said it earlier, it's fear. People have a lot of fear. I was in at Seinfeld that said people are more fearful of making a speech at a funeral than actually being dead. Like it's higher than the fear of death is public speaking. So I think sleep is like that. This idea of there are things in my life that scare somebody. One of the slides I have in a presentation is I'm gonna share with you my greatest fear, and it's a scene from Silence of the Lambs. It's I've been abducted. Somebody came to me at work and asked me to help him move a couch into a van. I'm like, "Sure, I'll help you out." I get into the van, feel a sting in my neck, and next thing I know, I wake up drugged, naked in somebody's basement, and they're telling me to put lotion on my
Put the
skin.
lotion.
That is terrifying to me. I don't even like to think about that. So scary, so scary. What's not scary to me? I'm gonna go to bed at night, be next to the person I've committed my life to. There's food in the pantry. It's 68 degrees in the house, and I'm awake. It's lovely, actually. I like being in bed awake. It's like the only time I have when it's quiet and private and I don't have to be answering emails and doing stuff. Like it's just my time. I can do whatever I want to. It's like my own little mental playground. So I run towards it. But if you think of, "Oh my god, I can't it's terrifying to me to get in bed and not fall asleep right away or wake up in the middle of the night and can't get back to sleep," then that's really what needs to be worked on. It's not about drugging yourself through it. It's working on why is that so fearful? We're awake right now and having a great time. Why is being awake a few hours from now in a bed so bad? Like, where have we gone that that has become a thing? Because it doesn't hold any control over me. There's lots of things that scare me. Political administrations and viruses and shutting down departments of that scares me. That gives me anxiety, but being in bed awake tonight doesn't. So why is it at your top? And how can we change that maybe and maybe make some inroads in terms of that fear that's driving you to do irrational things to avoid.
I think it's related to anticipatory stress
Mhm.
most
For
of the
sure.
time. Maybe some of the time people are reflecting on past memories or they're feeling like really embarrassed about what they said during the day and they're obsessing and then they can't sleep. But I think, at least for myself, and maybe Susan, you can chime in on this too, I have heard so much the negative consequences of sleep that I end up stressing about my stress and being
Yeah.
just about my anxiety, and then it's not even about the sleep anymore. Or I'll be sleeping up at altitude when it's the night before skiing, and I'm like, all I want to do is ski tomorrow and have a great day, and I'm going to feel terrible because I'm awake. And suddenly that
Yeah.
becomes a reality. So I think it's so anticipatory.
And we bear a lot of that responsibility as sleep scientists that we're in an age now where we're finding out more and more about sleep and performance and recovery and of course you want to put that out there. Hey, did you know if you sleep like this, you do better and people who sleep and so it just there's a lot of information that basically says you need to fall asleep right now, or you're gonna die. It's like somebody having a gun. Okay, I got the gun to your head, but I'm not gonna shoot you as long as you fall asleep within 10 minutes. Like, who can do that? That's a very difficult thing to do is to perform under pressure. Insomnia, I always tell people it's like the difference between shooting baskets in an empty gym. You just walk into a gym waiting for your kid to finish up in another gym and there's a basketball there and you start shooting free throws and my God, you just made 9 out of 10. That's incredible. That's a different activity than shooting that same ball in the same hoop in the same with a crowd yelling, you're down by 2 points, you make it, you win the game, you miss it, you lose the game, and you have to live with that, and your dad being disappointed in you that I can't believe you couldn't make this. Just all this stuff, the psychological that goes along with it, but it's still just rubber ball, iron hoop. We put those things on top of it sometimes. And if we don't have control of those things, we start to change the very nature of the activity we're trying to influence.
Do you see I think we can't leave it out of the conversation with people not being able to get to sleep, the phones, and
Yeah.
the mindless scrolling, being able to work from home. I had a client, she said, "I'll just work till 10 o'clock at night." You've got the blue light going, you're constant, the stimulation, and then you think you can go right to sleep? That's not gonna happen. And I know for me, and I was one of those people where I could sit and be working on clinical notes till 10 o'clock at night, and then I can't get to sleep. And I need that earlier bedtime. So I had to do a 7 o'clock cutoff from this laptop does not stay open after 7 because it stimulates me too much. So do
Yeah.
you think the advent of the increased technology, this mindless scrolling that people do, they get into bed. So instead of enjoying that peace like you talk about, I get into bed, I prayer, meditation, the breath work, and it is joyful. It is just you feel so good that I'm lulled to sleep. But if you have this in your hand when you get into bed and you're scrolling, and we know that social media really jacks with the brain, right?
Yeah.
And then it starts the brain going down all these tangents of jealousy. I'm not good enough. Look at that person. That's not me. I want to be that person. And then the social influencers, all of these things that are just affecting this brain before sleep. And people wonder why they can't sleep. So, do you feel like that is also playing a part in this day and age? Because I think more people have sleep issues now than they did decades ago. And you've been
I think
doing
so
this
for
for a long
sure.
time.
Yeah.
Between this, the obesity, the how many people are on CPAPs now because they're obese?
Yeah.
So I think those factors come into it as well that have really shown a decline in the quality of sleep. We're creating this angst, like Kate's talking about this fear of going to
Yeah.
sleep. Just
Yeah, no, they
mindless.
do. They again, I'll push back, these things again, there's no such thing as can't sleep. That there's a feeling of it. So yes, I mean, if somebody says, "Look, Chris, I can be on my phone before I go to bed or not, what would you prefer?" Then I would say easily not. Turn it off and shut your caffeine down like you do and no alcohol and maybe have the temperature in your house come down and softer lighting and stuff like that. Whether or not you do those things or not, they will influence again 5 to 10% of your sleep. You'll be up, blue light will keep an individual up an average of 10 minutes longer than they would have been. So again, we're back to that sort of supplement mindset of I can't sleep, so it's my phone. Probably not. Again, I can try it. If you're like, yeah, I put my phone away now, I sleep perfectly. Great. I'm glad to be wrong. But you're going to sleep no matter how many phones you've got stuck in the bed with you. You know what I'm saying? But if we're trying to make the sleep as good as we can, it's really trying to dial in our health and whatnot, then no, these things are not good. They're not, I can't fall asleep, so I'm reaching for my phone. On the flip side, I tell people all the time, if you're in bed and sleep's not happening, you can stay there, which is what I do. And I just sit there awake and think about stuff. If it's frustrating to you, then traditional kind of cognitive behavioral therapy would be get up and go do something. If you want to go answer, if you're anxious that, oh my God, I just got back from a trip, I've got 80,000 emails that need to be responded to, and that's creating anxiety in me and I can't sleep, then if you can't get up and go answer a few emails, it'll make you feel better. So to me, it's there's nothing wrong with watching a little Gilded Age before you go to bed at night. That's fine. There's nothing, but if you're like, I mean, it's always been unrealistic. What are we supposed to do? Just shut lights off at 7 o'clock and sit around and talk to each other in the dark or by candlelight for the next 3 hours and then go to bed? You can if you want to, but a little of these things are fine. But I do think that the nature of I can't sleep, so I'm gonna pull up the phone and, "Wow, I can't believe they said that," or, "I can't believe that guy is banning that," and I don't think that's a great thing to go to bed with, and it conditions ourselves to be revving up anxieties before we go to bed rather than teaching ourselves ways to reduce anxiety if that's something for you. Again, it's kinda like the coffee. I would say I can sit there and look at the most anxiety turn off the light and go right to sleep. maybe my sleep would be better if I didn't do those things. Oh, so that's why I choose to do it, not because, oh, if I look at a screen, it's going to keep me up for the next 4 hours, because it won't. But I do think my sleep is better when I wind down, do relaxing activities, put the work away. It's not going anywhere. 80,000 emails on a Monday are same as 80,000. It's like Ashton Kutcher said one time, emails are just somebody else's to-do list for me. It's not my to-do list. It's your to-do list, so I'll get to it when I can. So I've
Yeah,
always
I
thought
love
that was brilliant from Ashton Kutcher.
he
Deep
does have
thought.
some good gems. I've heard of
I
some,
think
you know.
that's I've
I
I've
think you
always thought that
find
was I'm like, "Yeah, that's not
yeah,
my to-do list. That's
that's
you need
yours.
something from me. I'll get to it when I get to it. Goddamn, here we go."
And everybody, I think, is gonna find their own magic carpet to sleep,
Yes,
where
absolutely.
for some people, it is like you have gotta close the loop. So if there's something you're thinking about, if it's an email, send it. If you've gotta write it all down in your journal, I know some people who just do a big dump in their journal right before sleep, and it helps clear their mind. For me, if I lie
Yeah,
for a while and I'm starting to get frustrated, I always keep Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, on my Kindle, and I make it backlit with blacks and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
white writing so that it's not so bright, and there's just something about that book, A New Earth, that lulls me to sleep because it is all about not fighting with what is reality, and if
Y
reality is this moment, then be in it.
yeah.
So that's magic for me, and so I think part of it is just finding what works for you, but, like, it's really refreshing to hear you say that this whole sleep hygiene movement, there's so much such a it's a buzz phrase of sleep hygiene with the phones and the candlelight and all of these things that it sounds like you're saying, take what works for you from sleep hygiene, but don't take it to an extreme and basically try to find a way to just be okay in whatever state of consciousness your body's in. And then
Yeah,
you
and it's sleep hygiene is the equalizer. It's not the volume or the power switch, meaning that you're listening to your stereo and it's light on the bass and heavy on treble. I can hear it. It's a Adele song. It's okay, but if I play around with the equalizer, I can take that song and make it sound even a little bit better, but it's still Adele no matter what, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you want the blue light and the relaxing candle and the thing that you like to read before you go to bed and your prayers, your meditation, your breath work. That's all the equalize, no caffeine, temperature 68, soft pillow, good mattress, comfortable PJs, whatever. All those things are important. And they're adjusting that equilibrium just a little bit to make it perfect, but you can still shove everything down. Each equalizer thing all the way at the lowest setting, still Adele. It's still
right,
this, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't sound great, she sounds muffled. So sleep's gonna happen. It but your choice is it gonna be muffled or is it gonna be just brilliant and sound amazing and consistent and, "Oh my god, your speaker sounds so great, Chris. I've never heard Adele sound so great." That's what we're playing around with, and that's where sleep hygiene goes off the rails. It's like the equalizer doesn't make you sleep or not sleep, and it's generally not gonna solve a problem. "Chris, I cannot sleep. Is your bedroom dark?" "No, it's very bright and loud." "I never thought about that. I guess I'll make it dark and quiet." Like, everybody knows this stuff intuitively. Like, I've never cured anybody with it's to me, it's like setting the stage for it. I wanna start running marathons, so I've bought really good shoes and loose-fitting clothing and a headband to keep sweat out of my eyes. Okay, that doesn't make you a marathon runner, but you've laid the groundwork for being able to do that now versus wearing work boots and some sort of hazmat suit. That's not great for marathon running. Like, so set the stage, but that doesn't you don't show up at the track wearing the right thing, and now I'm a great marathon runner. You still got a lot of work to do. So we confuse sleep hygiene as some cure or treatment for something. Every magazine says, best sleep of your life. Here are 10 tips and tricks. Okay, did you really think the loud, bright, hot bedroom was the thing you should be doing? No, these things are all little equalizers. Important, but generally just enhancing or making something a little bit more. It's not going to solve a lot of people's problems. And that's unfortunate because as you keep trying these sleep hygiene things and they ultimately fail, it's creating more anxiety, more, "Oh my god, what is wrong with me? I've tried every tip and trick in the book and nothing works and every tonic and every supplement and every pill and they all fail." Right? Because 'Cause you're not asking the right questions. You're not going after the right problems.
Like you said, I've heard you say in your podcast, when you say it's not working, well, what does that mean to you? That's not
It's an
working
important
because again,
question.
if I'm high performance and I know that I'm going to go do a very taxing hike up over 12,000 feet in elevation by Kate, and I need to have good recovery. I want to have that sleep be as
Yeah,
optimal for me as possible. So I may bring in more of those equalizers to make that sleep quality great. If I don't have a big day the next day and I can be super chill, I don't need to do as much of those things to get
right.
that the quality of sleep that I need for that next day.
So you're the perfect person where that hygiene is important. Chris, I'm sleeping fine, but I'm trying to do this 75-mile race, and I'm really interested in beating my best time, which was 2 years ago. Like, that's a different thing than I'm only sleeping an hour, I can't sleep. So now it's where can we find little advantages, not only in your sleep, but maybe your nutrition, what you wear, how you
Exactly.
fuel yourself. What is your strategy for, I'm going out really hard for the first time. Now it's nuance. That's where sleep hygiene shines in the person who's already doing okay, but wants to be even a little bit better versus the person who is a disaster, who's already tried all those things. It's a different definition of it's not working. My sleep's not working. What do you mean? I'm trying to hit 7 hours, 13 minutes, and I can't get under 7:20 or 7:30. Okay, that's an unusual, different definition of my sleep's not working for me than the person who's, "Oh, I'm a disaster. I'm dysfunctional. I'm only sleeping an hour." So that work question is very important. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I we're all different in where we are with performance. Do you just feel like you just want enough to get through the day? Then that's where you are, and that's okay. And
Yep.
then there's those of us that we want to be on fire as much as
Yeah.
possible. And so I will do all those things. That's why I went into epigenetics to dial as much in as I can to feel as good as I can the
Yeah.
majority
So
of the time, right?
that's the population that's really going to get into the fine tuning the sleep hygiene. That's the
Yeah,
population that's like,
yeah.
I've noticed that if I get my smart thermostat to stop dropping temperatures from 74 down to 69 over the 3 hours between dinner and when I go to bed, I've noticed my performance scores on my Whoop band and Aura Ring are much like, when you're really dialed into that kind of thing, like with all my professional athletes, that's where these little things make a big difference versus I can't sleep and I tried the smart thermostat, it didn't work.
Uh,
It's a
that yeah.
whole different construction here.
What are your since we talk about the wearables, and we had our podcast last week that dropped, and then it's a two-part, like we're doing with the sleep with you and Dr. Parsley. We're talking about the vagus nerve and heart rate variability. That we look at the HRV during sleep. And I noticed that my HRV was tanked when I was having the sleep issues that I was perceiving that were definitely not good. And I was down in the 30s. When I really dialed back in, now I've noticed my HRV has been consistently for the last 3 weeks now up in the 70s, which has now become my norm, and I feel amazing. So I'm getting better recovery. So I keep track with my wearable. I watch these things because I want to see I know I like to not let the wearable drive me, but when I wake up, I don't look at it first. I try to tune into how do I feel today? What am I ready to do? If I know it's a big hike and I perceive that I didn't sleep as well last night, I'm not looking at it, right? Because I don't want to get in my own head about performance. I might look afterwards and see where I was. But for someone who is looking at trying to improve sleep or seeing what maybe this where they're feeling like they're not getting as good sleep, do you feel like the wearables are a good avenue as a tool to use how the body
Yes.
is reacting?
Correct, exactly. So to me, wearables work best when you have a clinical question, which is, I like my girlfriend's bed when I sleep over at her place. I feel like I sleep better there than I do at home. Or I hear what you're saying about alcohol, but for me, alcohol just makes me relax and sleep better. Okay, great. How about
Please wear a wearable and
3
say that.
weeks of your alcohol on a wearable and then do 3 weeks dry? I did that just for fun. I don't really drink a lot of alcohol, but I for fun, it was like every night had 2 pretty heavy alcohol beers, some Dragon Milk Stout. And what's funny was I did it for 2 weeks. It was like an experiment 'cause I wanted to see what it looked like between that and not having the alcohol. And many nights I'd get there and I'd be brushing my teeth. And my wife's, "Did you drink your beers for tonight?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't." So like at 11 o'clock, I'm like chugging 2 beers. It was just awful. And the scores were terrible. If you ask me, did it make a difference in your sleep in terms of how you felt? Not really. In terms of, yeah, I felt okay the next day. So there's that idea of you can do it on 50, but you can also do it a little bit better on 70. So to me, that's where those things really shine. And you were hinting at where they fail are 2 places. One is I'm not sleeping well, so I'm going to get a sleep tracker. Just putting that thing on your wrist or your finger is not changing anything. It's gonna give you some
Right.
feedback, but it itself is not solving any problem. Number 2, that kind of anxiety of, "Oh my gosh, I wanna have good scores, and I'm scared if I don't get, I'm not gonna get." So this thing Kelly Barron coined called orthosomnia, this idea that it's like a little quiz every night on your sleep that you want to get an A on, and so I like what you do a lot, which is I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to assess how I feel. I even tell people, keep a notebook. Write down on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is miserable day, 5 is an awesome day. Call your shot first and then take a look at what your device said. I think that's much more interesting. And always understand that HRV is a surrogate for sleep. It's not sleep, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of parallels. These
Mhm.
devices do a very good job of tabulating how much sleep you get. They're not quite as good at telling us how much or how well we slept, but they're
Mhm.
getting better and better all the time. Like it's amazing the leaps and bounds in this technology that I think that the nice thing about a wearable is you can wear it for 30 days versus a one night sleep study. If somebody shows me
Right.
wearable data and it's frowny face and 30 every day for 30 days, there's something going on. So this is another thing you can bring to your doctor and say, look, 30, 28, 26, 22, 22, 20, and I bought my partner the same one and he's 90, 90, 90. To me, these things have merit to them. So if your doctor says, "Oh, those things don't mean anything," that's not true. The
Yeah. And
days
that's
of
what
those
I've
things
seen in
not
my
meaning anything are
practice.
a long time are long gone.
If I have a client that says, I'm exhausted. I am so tired, but I sleep great. If you're tired all day, there's either something within your lifestyle habits that you're doing during the day that might be robbing you of that energy. But if you're waking
Yeah.
up tired, your sleep isn't as good as you think it is. Have you thought about a tracker to get an idea of
Yeah.
what's happening? And you look and they have, I one that they were averaging 17 minutes of deep sleep a night. No wonder you're exhausted or no,
Yeah.
like very minimal REM. And so I think they're, like you said, just super helpful as a tool, not your this is what you need to go by, but it's a great tool to see how is your body reacting to different things. And I think one of the biggest pluses that we can gain is awareness around
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely. Yeah,
Because
and to your I tell people all the time, you can feel like crap the next day and your sleep be awesome. So one of the tools, the value of this is I'm sleeping well. My tracker says 90 every time I do it or whatever. I'm just miserably fatigued during the day. Okay, then maybe it's your A, anemia, B, B12 deficiency, C, COVID, D, depression. I can give you a cause of fatigue for every letter of the alphabet that has nothing to do with your sleep. So for some people, it's using these things to figure out is what I feel when I feel terrible related to a fundamental sleep problem of quality, quantity, or consistency, or those things are fine. What I'm dealing with has nothing to do with that. Because for a lot of people, when they wake up and feel terrible, it's, oh, if I could just sleep more or sleep better, I could feel better. Not if you have a tick-borne illness that somebody hasn't diagnosed. You're going to drive yourself crazy trying to solve the tick-borne illness problem with more sleep, better mattresses, high-tech pajamas, trackers. So they can be
yeah,
really helpful to say, look, sleep's fine. Cross that off your list, move on to the next thing that might be making you feel pretty miserable because there's lots of things.
it's funny that you use that as an example because when I was a cop, I actually got Lyme disease twice, but it was undiagnosed for 11 years. Had the bullseye
Yeah.
and everything, no one said anything, so I didn't know. And I remember thinking, "I carry a gun. I have to make split decisions pretty quickly, and I'm not getting sleep." My sleep was
Yeah.
so poor, And that's how I perceived it because I was constantly fatigued, that fatigue that you get with Lyme
Yeah,
disease. And I went through my sick time so much because I didn't want to go out there and be responsible in a
sure,
life death situation where I didn't even know my name at that time. So there are so many different variables that go into it. And I've seen clients of mine get better sleep just when we change them for not just me, but people are told get to bed super early, get up early, get up when the sun rises. And there's people that are legitimately your night owls and they do better with a little bit later sleep, but a later waking in the morning and a very slow start to the day. And they're told get up 5 a.m., get to the gym, bust your ass. And by 2 o'clock, when they should actually be gaining energy as the day goes, they are tanked. So it's the energy rob and their sleep isn't good. But when we change this around and get them going to bed a little bit later and change that sleep in time a bit more, slow the workout, slow the morning down, relaxed morning, and change the workout to the afternoon, the sleep changes, they thrive. So it could be just simply your chronobiology is off with
sure.
sleep. There's just so many different variables that go into it, but foods that increase the neurotransmitters the increased cortisol, stress. But I want to be, I want to be very conscious and respectful of your time. So, do you feel like this is a good place to stop, or did you want to touch base at all on the seasonal sleep changes, or come back and talk more about that at some point?
How about we come back and talk?
That's what I was thinking because I think
Leave them
that's such a
wanting
good one.
more. I think an hour and 15 minutes of me is more than anybody in my immediate family or circles would want. But, yeah, no,
I'd
you've
love to have you
really
back and talk about that.
anytime, absolutely.
I think it's a fascinating topic, and like I said, it goes along with the chronobiology that is a big part of
Yeah,
my.
that's a great we can talk about seasons and chronobiology. I think those are all fascinating. I will say that at the meet that every year, all the sleep specialists get together up in some conference center and talk about research and current stuff. And one of the things I'm always struck about over the past couple years is we've always talked about getting the right amount of sleep for you and getting good quality sleep. But one of the things that's really just dominating research right now is how important that timing and consistency is, meaning you can get 8 hours of sleep or 7 hours of sleep a lot of different ways. I'm the best sleeper in the world. I sleep from midnight to 7, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I tend to sleep from I have to go to bed at 5 AM and get up 7 hours after that. So that person's getting good quality sleep. It's 7 hours every night, but that
Mhm.
timing shift, I work 7A, 7P as a cop, and then 2 weeks later, I'm 7P to 7A, but sometimes I have to fill in for my partner when he goes out and does stuff with his kid. Those kinds of schedules can be absolutely damning, not only from a sleep
Sure.
perspective, but from a health perspective. So I think, yeah, we could do a whole topic or a whole podcast just on timing of sleep and how research has really shown that even like chrononutrition, eat a candy bar, but if
That's
you
what I
eat a
was just gonna
candy
say.
bar at the
Yeah.
same time every day at 3 o'clock, you have a Snickers bar, that's a very different body reaction than, "I'm gonna eat the candy bar, but at different times during the day, and there's no rhyme or reason when I'm going to do it." Your body is now responding instead of anticipating, and it never wants to be in that role. Brains love a
Yeah.
schedule. They want
Schedule.
to know what's coming versus
Yeah.
chaos, and I think we're really waking up to that, no pun intended.
Yeah, I agree. And you think about shift workers, how within just a couple of weeks, just from eating overnight, because the body is not meant to be eating overnight. That's when we're supposed to be sleeping. That we can see the body start to become insulin resistant within just a couple of weeks with that
Yeah,
eating overnight. And we just take them off of that, have them do a more normal routine, eat the last meal. And I was one of them. I started packing on weight after the academy. I worked graveyard. So I'm going, why am I getting fat? Yeah, why is this happening? Because I was eating moons over my hammy at Denny's at 3 a.m.
that's right.
It's just we just don't think about this, but this routine and this running on this 24-hour clock. So I think that'll be a great conversation. I'll have to have you back for that. But we are so grateful for your time today. Is there anything else you'd like to make sure that you get in here that we might have missed out on or
I don't think so. I think you've covered a ton.
I think you've covered a ton as well. And yes, and I totally agree with Styx, Boston, and In Excess should be in the Hall of Fame.
Hallelujah, sister. I couldn't agree more. What you know,
How were they not?
I
How?
know
Dolly Parton?
every year
Where
I'm
you go
kind of
ahead.
yeah, sure. They belong in there, but I've got a lot of theories about that. I'll save that for the next episode too.
We're gonna have all of Dr. Winter's information in the show notes, links to his books, his website. You can work with him if you need a sleep specialist. His podcast, well, take a listen to the podcast and watch that 3-part series he did, the Sleeping Around with Dr. Chris Winter. It's fabulous. So thank you so much for joining us. One thing that I have to ask you before we go, this is typically Kate's question, but Kate's work is the Radiant Life Project. It's
Yep.
creating your best life, and I'm epigenetics. So we always ask our guests at the end, what are you doing today to create your most radiant life through epigenetics?
I am going to exercise, which I always do at the end of the day, and I am going to pull stuff out of my garden that I'm obsessed with, and whatever I can find, I will incorporate into my meal tonight. So I'm a big fan of growing your own food, even if it's just spices and things like that. So I find working and playing around in a garden and pruning and doing stuff to be very mentally peaceful and relaxing. It's nice to be outside. It's nice to take something that you consume through the entire process and have some ownership of it. And yeah, those are the two things. And I'll probably watch some trashy TV and go to bed.
Do nothing else, it's honest, and I love it. That's
I got
we
plenty of
are
that.
raw, real,
Plenty
relatable.
of that.
Hey, I'll
Yeah.
be on the trashy TV with you too, and I do the Gilded Age. It ended way too quickly this year. But
I
but
agree.
we'll have all of Dr. Chris's notes in or links in the show notes. So please, please, please share this episode. You're going to reach somebody, and let's make a difference. Get out there, make it a great day, be your most authentic self. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, we'd love for you to share it, leave a review or comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Help us get this information out to everyone who could benefit, and we'll keep bringing you the content you crave.
You can also check out our podcast site at everydayepigenetics.co and sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on upcoming episodes. The link is in the show notes.
If you're interested in DNA or epigenetic coaching with Susan, or Radiant Life coaching for deep inner work with Kate, our contact info is in the show notes below.
Now go and make it a great day and let your most authentic self shine.